Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live. We're back on a Tuesday. It's slightly past 8 o'clock, but don't judge me on that. Like, we have other commitments, work, got to get back, do you know what I mean? Get set up, and we're back in there. I'm joined by Jerome. Not seen you in a while, Jerome. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a while, isn't it? Yeah, all good. All good, thanks. Ready to, ready for 6 days' time. Get back into the swing of things.
6 days, 6 days. So Arsenal have had a couple of friendlies in that time. Most recent one, they lost 2-0 to Juventus. We're covering a little bit on that. Most people didn't get to watch those games because they would have got charged like £7 a pop from iPlayer, and I paid for that before on the Arsenal player, but I refuse to pay it anymore because they give you it's no frills. It's just simple game. Half time, they just do the replays of the game on repeat on loop and then cut off. No commentary at half time, no analysis. It's poor. So I'm not paying for it. But in that break, we've had a World Cup. Jerome, what's your thoughts on the World Cup?
God, well, firstly, I love football. So wherever it was going to be played, it's just good to watch. It's just good to watch games of football. The final was unbelievable.
Unreal, weren't it?
I think everyone will probably admit to that. Like, it was a very weird feeling watching this World Cup because I shouldn't have felt like it, but I was always thinking about our players because of how soon after the season was going to restart. I was just worried the whole time. So really, for the final say, I should have really have wanted France to win because one of our players is in the French squad. But all that was on my mind is I want Saliba back as soon as possible. If it means France win the World Cup and he's going to spend 2 weeks in France celebrating the win, I'd rather have him back in London straight away. So it was really like full of mixed feelings, really, this World Cup. But yeah, some of the games, like you get in every World Cup, to be honest, amazing games. Yeah. The final was incredible.
Yeah.
The ending to it just had so much to it. And I watched loads of it, to be honest. And,
overall, a successful World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what success, how you define success. But some great games. A few players obviously have come to the fore. And successful. I mean, having Messi win it at the end, that's what most people will probably think as being a positive, successful, great. You call that like a great ending.
It was a great ending. It was a great ending. And look, although we have Arsenal players in that French team, Olivier Giroud, who I'm a fan of. Do you know what the romance of Messi picking up that World Cup was too much for me. I had to back Messi. I was hoping that there could be some way there could have been a Portugal, a Messi Ronaldo final. That would have been absolutely unbelievable. But that would have meant Portugal knocking England out, and I'm not sure we would live that one down.
When
world champions is one thing.
You know, when Martinez made the save right at the end, right?
Yeah.
It was like it went in slow motion. It was like the thoughts that were going on my head was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna win it here for France."
Yeah, I thought that
just goes through your head as you're watching it. It's
crazy. When I saw him break them saves, I was like, "Oh my God, Emi Martinez is about to win a World Cup." I was like, I could not believe it. How you doing, Steve?
How you doing, mate? You all right? All right, Jerome?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I was just like, it was because although he's not our player anymore, there was still like there's a connection. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, Emi Martinez is going to win the World Cup. This is crazy. And it was an excellent World Cup. Still strange that it was mid-season. Still like there's still that little bit of inside me about the corruption in football at the moment. Or at the moment, it's been going on for about 30, 40 years. Excellent World Cup. Plenty of talking points. Big David beating Goliath. Thoroughly enjoyed it. How you doing, Steve? Glad that football's back. Well, it's not gone away. In fact, we've had it. We've been spoiled. However, I'm talking about club football.
Yeah, I can't, mate. I mean, it's been mad. It's been a great World Cup. Really enjoyed it. You know, there was this little thing about where it was, and at the beginning you had all the, human rights stuff going on and that, and rightly so, I thought. But once the World Cup got going, it was great, mate. But yeah, look, it's Arsenal now, isn't it? I just been, it's been too long, isn't it? It's 4 weeks without Arsenal, and I just can't wait, mate. Just can't wait till Boxing Day. Now it can't come around quick enough.
Yeah. So we've got West Ham on Boxing Day. It's going to be a tough game. Do you feel like Arsenal should try and get a behind closed doors game in, or do you think this would be enough?
I think it's been enough. They've been away. They've had some good friendlies. The other players have been been on international duty. Some of them have played games. Some of them hasn't. But they've still been doing training. So I don't think it's 100% necessarily. There might be a couple of players who could deal with sort of maybe keep getting up to speed a little bit. Maybe people that are still not sure about injuries. We're still not too sure about what Smith Rowe's situation is. So that's a bit worrying. I thought he was going to come back ready to rumble. I mean, if there's any chance of getting a behind the doors friendly game, going for people like who are in Smith Rowe's situation, then I'm all for that. But I don't think it's 100% necessary.
All right. Don, what's your thoughts? Do you think the friendlies that they've had enough? They had 3 friendlies, two victories, 1 loss, 2 in Dubai. I think 1 was at the Emirates, wasn't it? Is that enough, or do you think they should get a behind closed doors? In fact, they played Watford as well, didn't they? So they played it'd be 4 friendlies.
Well, I saw some reports that they are actually playing tomorrow. Arsenal, they're playing. Well, yeah, a couple of people report that they're playing Luton tomorrow. So potentially that's just one more extra game. I'm sure it'll be the same, whereby if that does happen, then the second half or most of the second half will be, full of youngsters. But in the games that they've played, they've seemed pretty much up to speed, most of them. And all the other clubs will have gone through the same thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can just sort of pick up where we left off, really.
Yeah, hopefully, and that is the great debate, the hope. Okay, let's get on to the main crux of the situation. Gabriel Jesus, obviously yet to leave the World Cup early. Devastating for every Arsenal fan out there. We're trying to enjoy the World Cup. Gabriel Jesus getting sent home, and all everyone can think about is how long is his rehabilitation? What's he got to do? And then out of nowhere, he goes down for surgery. Surgery's good, and he's going to be out until the 28th of February against Leicester. Steve, we'll start with you. What was your thoughts when you heard that Gabriel Jesus was out?
I mean, just sick. But I tell you what, it did remind me of. I don't know if you remember. Arsenal were in a similar situation, same time of year. Obviously, it was not a World Cup, and he hadn't gone away and played for a different team. But I don't know if you remember Robert Pires going down with his ACL just before, quite early on in the season. And at the time, he was, one of our best players. But we still went on and did the business. So there's. I'm not 100% worried that I would have been like on other years, but yeah, I mean, when you see him, go down, you started to worry, and it's your worst fears, isn't it? He's been, up there with one of our best players of the season up to yet, and you just knew it was going to happen, didn't you? You just knew someone was going to come back with, being injured, and now there's all the fury about what to do, whether to get someone in. But it's like you've already said there, we've had a little bit of good news, because they're saying that he could be back, for the Leicester away game, which is a lot earlier than what I thought that he would be back. I thought it would be a lot later than that. So that's not too bad. That's about 8 or 9 games. Our players have got to stand up, or because I don't think we're going to bring anybody in. I don't think I'm not hearing that's going to happen. There's a lot of people saying let's bring someone in, let's go and buy someone in. We're going to need a striker. I've been told that's not happening. That we won't be going out to get a striker. And just from a personal opinion, I think that's right. I think it would be a silly thing to do. But yeah, mate. I mean, gutted. You go from one end of the scale to the other, didn't you? You look at Saka, who in my mind was probably the best England player out there. To from Jesus going down for 9 weeks. But yeah, gutted. But good news. Hope be back hurling than what we thought, and hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Jerome, Jesus out until February. Is that? It's a while. Is that a worry for you? Do you think we can cope? Do you think we should buy? What's your thoughts on it?
God. Well, I'll be able to give you a much better answer this time next week after the West Ham game. But honestly, yeah, it is a big worry. Of course, it is. Look at the difference he's made to our team. I mean, apart from him, it's going to be pretty much the same team as like last season, isn't it? Really? Obviously, they've improved a lot. They've come on a lot. But personnel-wise, it's the same. And he, like we've said, he affects so much of how we can control games. Like a lot of the time, we can control games because he's not an extra player, but in some ways he is because of the way he plays and how sort of technical he is for a striker that is able to help with sort of just keeping the ball and getting involved and having loads of touches. Like Nketiah's obviously he's totally different. He's not like Jesus at all. So yeah, it is a big worry, really. Although we might not want to admit it. Yeah, it is because how much he affects our play.
Do you think Arsenal should go out and buy a player in the striker position?
Yeah, if as Steve says, he's going to be back sort of end of Feb. Then no, if they sign like a winger, which there's a lot of rumours that they are going to do that, then I think that will be enough to compensate because you've got Smith Rowe coming back who hasn't basically played all season, and Martinelli can play up there. So you've still got sort of 3 options to play up front, and you don't want to spend money for the sake of like 8 or 9 weeks if you don't really want that player, because in the long run, it might cost you more. So I don't think they should make any knee-jerk reactions and bring someone in.
Yeah.
Look, they've given Eddie a massive, big, fat contract. So you don't give someone a contract like that if you're not going to play. Right? If they're not going to play, or if they're not going to be able to step in when the main guy's out. So, Arteta's he's put a lot of faith and trust in him. So he obviously believes he can do the job. So let's see how he does.
All right, Steve. Do you think Eddie will be enough in this time that Gabriel Jesus is out? Is it a time for Eddie to show what he's about again?
Well, it is. We've been impressed with him. In recent times we've seen him play very well. We've seen a new Eddie. When he comes off the bench, he does well. We've also we've got Gabriel Martinelli, and like Jerome just said, the likeliness is we are bringing the winger in, and we all know who that winger is, and he's a left-sided, mainly a left-sided winger. So we could play Martinelli up front. He's played up there before, so that's an option. But just going back to Eddie again, I mean, not to put a sort of making light of the work that Gabriel Jesus has done for Arsenal, because he's been absolutely outstanding for Arsenal. There's no doubt about that. But one thing he hasn't really scored goals yet. Yeah. He's only scored I think it's 5 goals all season, but his work rate has been absolutely, phenomenal. I'm convinced that he can score the same amount of goals that Jesus has scored. You know,
Yes,
by the time he's out. So
yeah.
I say all keys, it's like as if it's a little thing. But all Eddie's got to do is show us that effort that Jesus has given. You know, run about the pitch, chase things down. You know, I'm not saying he can do it, but if he can get close to that type of performance week in, week out to what Jesus can do, the goals will come. He'll get the goals. He just needs to put in that effort, and that's what we've got to look at. It's not about whether he can go and score 10, 15 goals. People say, oh, can he score 10, 15 goals? We don't need him to score 10 or 15
No,
goals.
Jesus hasn't scored 10, 15 goals. He's putting a hell of a work rate, though, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. We just need him to put in that work rate. If he can copy that work rate, you know, just do that week in, week out, we'll be fine. And as I said, like, you can't go and spend... What's the conversation you're going to have with another striker? You know, you can't go up to a striker and say, you know, we need a top striker to replace Jesus. You know, you go and buy them. By the way, when he comes back, mate, you're on the bench. You're squadded. You're sitting down. That's not... You're not going to have that conversation. It's hard enough in January to get top players anyway. You ain't going to get a player with that type of... you know, conversation to try and pull someone to your club. But I don't think we've ever thought about it anyway, mate. I think he can. To answer your question, I think he can. I think he can do it. I think he can score the goals that he scored, and I think he can put in the effort. That's going to be his job. I'm sure he can do it.
Yeah. How many goals do you think Eddie could score in the time that Gabriel Jesus is out, Jerome?
God, what's he got? 9 or 10 games? You think something like that?
I think he's got 10 games, isn't he?
Yeah, he could score. He could score 5 or 6 goals in those games.
Do you think that would be enough to keep us in that contention, in that race? Because if we look at the style, yes, Jesus will bring more skill, more creativity, but they're very similar in terms of they do the high press, the energy. Eddie scored 2 goals last season when he came in just from closing down because that's part of his game.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, there are similarities to the game, which I think partly the reason why we're not seeing them too much together as well this season up top. But how many do you think he'd bag?
Yeah, he could get 5 or 6. I think what might help him is that when he played in the team last year, basically every 2 minutes there was a new player dropping out with an injury. He wasn't. I don't think he ever played when Partey was in the team. There was. I think Cedric was playing right back the whole time. Tomiyasu kept coming down with injuries. We were a team that were dropping like flies, weren't we? Whereas now he's going to be playing with hopefully, touchwood, fingers crossed, the 10 basic starters. So that might, hopefully, that will make a big difference as well.
Yeah, it's a fair point because it wasn't just Partey, it was Kieran Tierney as well.
Okay,
the whole team was Partey, but we've got the option of Zinchenko in that position or Kieran Tierney. We've seen Tomiyasu play in that position as well. So as cover for that left back role, they're there. There's options are there.
Yeah.
Steve, how much of a difference will having Partey and, as I just said there, Zinchenko and the option for Kieran Tierney as well as because last season, okay, we didn't have Aubameyang. Lacazette wasn't turning up trees, scoring goals or doing much towards the second half in the second half of the season. But we were in big players like Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney, and now we've got that added competition of Zinchenko as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the important thing that we never had turning into last January, wasn't it? I mean, we just never had any competition anywhere on the pitch. You know, now we can swap people's areas. If people get tired, we can move people into different positions. We've got people like Tomiyasu. We've got people like Tierney. We've got people like Vieira. You know, we got players like this. Hopefully we'll bring in a couple more. We're going to bring in Madrek. Hopefully, you know, we've got so much now. We've got Rob Holding. You know, we've got players now who can not only push the other players along to become better, but we've got that backup now. We have got that backup for players, and it's just night and day considering to where we was last season and where we was this season. We're not going to make the mistake this season of not buying nobody in January. It'd be a total disaster if we never. So we're only going to add to the parties. I mean, Partey's a different animal this year, isn't he? You know, I mean, he's turning into the player that we bought from Atletico Madrid. We never had that Thomas Partey that year. We've got players now on the bench now who are hungry, Kieran. Do you know what I mean? They're hungry. We never had any hungry players last January. You know, people used to just come on the bench and it was like, oh, you know, there was nothing there. There was kids and they come on and they just looked afraid, you know, to be in a red and white shirt. But now, you know, players are coming on and they're looking up for it. You know, they're just as looking as good as the players who are coming off. You know, that is such a massive difference now. We've got a squad now. You know, we're still not there. That's why we need to work in January. That's why we need to still bring those couple of players in January, you know, to strengthen it, because we're in that title race now, and we're in the strongest place that we've ever been. And you know, to make the mistake of not bringing players in would be an absolute nightmare for a start. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about Zinchenko's, we're talking about the Tierney's, we're talking about the Thomas Partey's, you know, we're talking about Smith Rowe. But one person we never had last season is turning into an absolute star is William Saliba. We never had him last season, you know, and having him coming back, he's going to be coming back fresh from the World Cup. You know, I wanted to see him, and then I didn't want to see him. You know, I wanted him to come on the World Cup, but then I would have been a bag of nerves because if he would have got injured. So there's another player. You know, he's like a new signing. You know, he still is like a new signing. But I think we're going to be all right, mate. And yeah, I'd be glad when that West Ham game's out the way. But you know, looking at seeing the highlights of the games that we've been playing, we look fresh, we look quick, we look sharp. I know you see it live, Kiers, and everything looks rosy at the moment.
Yeah. You might not have caught the games, or you might have seen the highlights, but just going off the scores, 3-0 victory against Lyon, 2-1 against AC Milan, and it was a 2-0 loss against Juventus. However, we had 19 shots on goal, only 2 on target. Mikel Arteta himself has said that that's not good enough in terms of us being clinical, but he did say it wasn't a fair reflection of that game. 4 games, and when we've had our first team out, we seem to have done really well in those games, Jerome. That's a really good start for pre-season or the mid-season, pre-season, going into this West Ham game and hopefully looking like we're hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I watched the first game against Lyon, and they were excellent. Arsenal
dominated, didn't they?
Yeah, they played really well. The game against Milan, I can't remember it too well, to be honest. I think Odegaard scored the free kick, didn't he, in that game? And the Juventus game, it was just attack against defence. Juventus played a really, really weakened team. I think I only recognised 2 of their players. And it was just, I think in the first half, Arsenal had something silly like 75% of the ball.
It is.
And it was just, you know, we just weren't sort of clinical or created it. Although we had a lot of shots, they weren't really, well, Eddie had a good chance, but proper clear-cut chances. But you're playing that game with none of the first probably 4 forward players in Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and you can throw Smith Rowe in there as well if you want. So, it was tough. But I think the main thing is the match fitness. They look like they're match fit. They don't seem off the pace at all. So, the good thing is that this World Cup, it didn't come as a shock where it just suddenly appeared. The team and Arteta and the coaching staff could all plan for it. They could all foresee what was going to happen, put in a plan for each player, individual plans, how they're going to keep fit, so they could prepare for it. So hopefully they've done that, and that is shown in the games. So yeah, but no, it was good that they squeezed a few games in. Initially I was a bit worried that don't have any games, like you might get some more injuries, but really it's
No, they need to. They need
yeah,
to.
yeah, it's worked out. It's worked out well.
And with a lot of those games, they've played the first team in the first half and then changed it big time in the second half. I mean, against Watford, it was like 15 and 16-year-olds playing against Watford in that first game they played, to the point where there was grown men just running through the team. But in the Lyon game, when they did bring on the youngsters, they still handled themselves well. So they're getting used to it. And I think it was enjoyable to see Arsenal play football during that break. Although we've been spoilt by football. It was good. It was good to see Arsenal play. And Fabio, have you everyone see Fabio Vieira's goal against Lyon?
Yeah, quality.
Absolute worldie. Absolute worldie. It's just something about that kid that even when he's not having the best game, even when he's not really in the game much, he seems to be in the right place at the right time. He seems to be in the right areas. So I think we could have like a little bit of a goal-scoring midfielder on our hands there. I do really like the look of Fabio Vieira. He's definitely got something.
He gets forgotten about a bit, doesn't he? Sometimes by fans, I think. Sometimes he doesn't get mentioned. We forget we got him.
Yeah, and he's that number 10. He can play in number 8. He can play. It seems like he can play any attacking position in that midfield. Like you said, it does seem like we do seem to forget him. But the same probably goes for Elmore Smith-Rowe. He's been out. Seems like he's been out for so long that I hate to say it, but it is going to be like a new signing. It's a player that we haven't had all season. And we're in this position now, and he was our top goal scorer last season, or one off our top goal scorer last season. So, I'm really excited to see Smith Rowe back, and I've got high hopes for Fabio Vieira. Where are we? Here we go. Next up. Gabriel Martinelli is set to sign a new deal. Steve, we'll go to you on this one. Gabriel might be set to sign a new deal. Very, very close.
Yeah, done. I've just been told there's nothing to worry about there. They're just sorting out. These things takes time. You'd be amazed how many little different things that has to be sorted out. When they're signing the new contracts. So, yeah, this one's done. It's as close as being done as any of the others. He's already come out. He's been quoted to say that he just wants to, give me the pen and I'll sign. It's, he don't need to hear no more. I don't need to really have any more conversations. I don't need to be really asked by any journalists. He said this when he was out in Qatar. I just want the pen and just sign it. It's done. This one's certainly nothing to worry about. And I would say in the next, after into the new year, once all the transfer dealings are done, you'll see that he'll put pen to paper on what I've been told is a deal going to 2027. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But that's just what I've been told.
Right. Big needs to be done, didn't it, Jerome? Get it out of the way, which will then the domino effect. We've already got Magalhaes has signed a new deal. Now Gabriel. Good news, yeah?
Oh, brilliant news. I mean, yeah, if you got any ambition, you got to be keeping players like Martinelli. And really they got to give him whatever he wanted. What he's achieved so far at Arsenal, how much he's sort of developed as a player, and obviously now the whole of Brazil is very much aware of him, especially judging by some of the comments where people were making about his appearances for Brazil in the World Cup. He's only 21. He's going to be 21 for the rest of the season. Like, he doesn't turn 22 until June. And he's one of those guys that you can just see him getting better and better. And I think his not only his ability, but his like work ethic Arteta obviously loves him, and yeah, it's great work by the club to tie him down. And he's one of those players that you enjoy watching, isn't he?
No,
Like,
he
because
is.
you don't know what he's going to do. He's one of them that gets you off the edge of your seat. So,
and we don't know how high his bar is. Like we're picturing it in our heads, but it just feels like he's just been out with the Brazil team. When you see him come on, he didn't stand out as one of them players that was like there was a golfing difference. He still looked quality. He brought something to the Brazilian team when he did come on. He's a very exciting prospect. We see the likes of Jurgen Klopp talking about like he's going to be one of the best wingers in the world. But yeah, excellent news. And hopefully it will be followed up by our man, Little B, aka Saka. Is Saka next, Steve? What's going on with Bukayo Saka's contract at Arsenal?
This one's going on a bit, isn't it? You know, there's been talks from the beginning of the season and a little while before that with Saka and his contracts. It's not plain sailing from what I'm hearing. There seems to be a lot of bits and pieces. The agent is one of these people who just goes for everything and tries to get everything for their players. I've been told by a couple of people now that that he should be changing his agent because he don't feel that he's doing in the best interest of Bukayo Saka. That's by a couple of prominent people who are very close to Arsenal. But look, saying all that, I do think it will get done. I've said on the show before that City do want him. That is a fact. That's something we've got to deal with. It'll get done. There's a little argument going on at the moment, which I don't think's out there at the moment. But Arsenal want a release clause put in it of something of around 150 million, and I think that there's a little bit of back and forth between the agent and Arsenal and Bukayo Saka over that. So that was interesting to hear. I'll find out a little bit more about that, and obviously you'll hear about it on the show next week or on the page. But I think it'll get done. But as I say, it's been going on a bit, this one, and they need to get it done as quick as possible now. And but I'm sure it won't be a problem.
All right. So Saka is hopefully next. Martinelli is all done. What are we on? Oh, Ben White. So Ben White left the England camp during the World Cup with his reasonings were personal reasons. There was an article that came out that said it was an exclusive and that Ben White had an argument with Steve Holland because he couldn't understand tactics, and because of that he was sent home. Southgate came out and said he's not even going to dignify it with a response, which I thought was the best response you could probably do. Yet there were still donuts out there that don't understand what I'm not going to dignify that with a response means. It doesn't mean I'm keeping it quiet. It means that it's such a stupid story that I'm not even going to talk about it. Yeah, that's what that means, people. Just in case you're struggling to understand. But do you think that Ben White should be more open about the situation of why he went home? Obviously, there's people that will still try and fill in the gaps. There's still rumours permeating as we speak, and they probably won't go away until people get bored of it. But Steve, what's your thoughts on Ben White keeping his reasons to why he's left England camp secret?
Well, you're absolutely right. It was nothing to do with Steve Holland. It was an absolute joke. What the press was trying to make out of it. And as you just said, mate, Gareth Southgate's come out and he said, like you said, he wouldn't even dignify it with an answer to that particular question. It is a family issue. It is to do with something to do with the health of a family member. So to answer your questions, whether he should come out and be more thingy, I think we should have to respect his opinion, what he is. You know, if we were put in that situation, his family might have said that they don't want it put out there or they don't want it spoken about. So we've got to respect, the players, situation and what he wants to do. And if Ben don't feel that he wants to come out and say nothing, then I'm standing by it. And I feel that he shouldn't say anything. He doesn't want to speak to the press. He's been slagged off for that. Why he's going. It must be Steve Holland. It must be something to do with that because Ben's not saying nothing. I mean, what a load of old rubbish.
It's almost version on childish. It's almost version on childish that the way they try to. I called it smoking out the truth. So basically, what I said they did is they threw out a lie, hoping that Ben White would someone would come out and then give their version of the actual truth of the story, because the story was so ludicrous. It didn't make sense on so many levels. Okay, so England's stance on players that don't understand your instructions is to send them home from a World Cup. Do you not understand how that would look? Not just his part, on the coaching staff's part. They can't one player. They can't, and the fact that they felt that one player couldn't get instructions, couldn't take in the instructions, so they sent him home. It was that dramatic. A player that weren't even playing. They said that they would send him home because he didn't understand tactics.
What did the FA say, Kears? What did the FA? The FA statement.
Reasons.
The FA come out and the statement said wording was the fact that he's had to go in for personal reasons. And we're asking everybody to please respect Ben's privacy in this matter. Now, what more do people on Twitter, on social media, or people who are writing in these red tops, right, who are totally different journalists from the journalists that we speak to day? They have a totally different way of reporting on football, right? Where do they not get those words, and do they not read that is a personal matter, it's a family matter, respects his views? Where do they get Steve Holland from that? The FA wouldn't even come out with that statement if it was anything to do with if they had a ruckus with Steve Holland.
That's a fair point. Jerome, some people may argue that England should be public interest. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, we all like, from time to time, we all like a bit of gossip. We all like to be a bit nosy and find out what's going on. But really, he doesn't owe any of us anything, Ben White. It's obviously something private that's happened. I don't know the ins and outs of it, so it's hard to sort of discuss it in too much detail. But I just care about how he plays for Arsenal, to be honest. And I'm happy to see him back in training. Happy to see that he's hopefully going to start on Monday. And I care more about his situation with Arsenal than his situation with England, where he was probably never going to get a minute anyway at the World Cup. He was probably 5th choice centre back, 5th choice right back, and he was never going to play anyway. And I don't think he needs to say. He doesn't not owe the press anything. The media, the media at times they really have a go at players. So you've seen him give interviews, haven't you, Ben White? He doesn't exactly give much away, does he? He just goes through the motions. He's quality to watch because he just doesn't care. Like he's got no time.
That's it. And I think there's a certain like. It's like a weird sadistic thing. There's a certain element of Ben White that he wants to have a go at them in his own way. Like he's waiting for a question, and his response is, "I don't know what you're talking about, mate. Like, I was out there playing." Like that's who's like, "No, I'll go." Who wants to go and speak to the press? No, I'll go. I'll speak to the press because, I just feel like he enjoys it. He enjoys the awkwardness. He enjoys calling them out for their rubbish, and he wants to do that. Maybe later on down the line he'll have a different way of expressing it. I like the way he does his interviews. I think
he says it like a fan, doesn't he? He says it like if someone pulled a fan out of an end of a game and they started interviewing one of us. He says it how it is.
Yeah, it's like some of the best.
Great.
Some of the best. He just says those, and I've got a lot of time for that. But Ben White,
I don't think any player should ever need to say anything. But when you mentioned about it being in the public interest, if it maybe was Harry Kane, England's captain, and he was sent home for something and no one really knew the proper reason, maybe then everyone would be a bit more interested perhaps in finding out the exact reason. But just for me, from a personal point of view, like the level of interest to find out what happened to Ben White, should he tell his side of the story? I'm quite relaxed if he doesn't, and
I'd rather he doesn't.
Happy. Maybe if it would keep him out of Arsenal games, then you might like to know a bit more. But it looks like he's going to be playing for us from the restart, and just happy to see him play. Yeah. Great that he got voted Player of the Month for November.
Well. Yeah. Great video as well from Ben, weren't it? You could just see how much the fans love him, how much he loves the van, just from that video where he was thanking the fans for winning Player of the Month.
Yeah.
But we love, and it was a family matter, and so
look for me, from the moment they said it was personal reasons, it's none of our business. Raheem Sterling went home for personal reasons. It turned out that his house was burgled.
Yeah.
Would it be different if it was an ill family member? It could have potentially been different. He could have maybe not said anything. But yeah, no, I'm fully with what the situation is. Mikel Arteta the same. We know what it is. Everyone knows what it is. We know what it's not, and it's got not got anything to do with Steve Holland, embarrassing star. Jonathan Cross, you should be ashamed, mate.
Red Top.
It was the Daily Star. It was the Daily Star. Club official said that Emil Smith Rowe will resume training this week. That is excellent news for Arsenal. We need competition on those wings, left wing especially. Gabriel Martinelli's played like nearly every game. Reece Nelson's gone down injured, so don't know how bad that is. But yeah, we don't need it. We don't need that. Quickly goes to the comment section. Okay, that's me. Simon says he's terrified that we go with Eddie and he doesn't score the goals and we drop from first to third or maybe even fourth. Again, we went through this last season with Aubameyang, and I couldn't waste my energy on being worried about us not scoring goals with Aubameyang. It was just a wait and see. It didn't end up being that. It wasn't even the main issue. The main issue for us was losing a central midfielder and a left back. And this season we're in a situation where one of our best players of the season so far has gone out for 3 months. We've got to see what Eddie can do. Be fair, as Jerome said earlier, we've paid him a bumper deal. He's got his new contract, and he should be looking forward to these potentially 10 going to be having to push the questions out there to see whether he's competition, to see where he's at, to see what level he's at. 10 games is more than enough for Eddie to have no complaints about getting game time. And for me personally, I think he's going to bag some goals. I can't see him not. He's a poacher. He's just always about it. He's always there and there. So for me, I'm not worried, and I won't waste any energy on getting worried.
It'd be good, like if he goes long, he goes and scores. He plays out of his skin for the next 10 games, scores 10 goals, and then Jesus comes back fit, and you're like,
Yeah,
that's what we're.
yeah, it's like Eddie. Oh, Eddie, do you know what? I've just gone into the red zone. You've just gone into the red zone. It's like I'm perfectly fine, mate. I've not played properly. I've not played like a full season yet. How can I be in the red zone? He's like, you need a rest, mate. You're looking tired.
Yeah.
Gabby's coming back in, and Gabby hits the ground running. Congratulations, Steve, on the information for Gabriel Jesus on the 25th. I can deal with that waiting until the 25th. I'm cool. Don't worry, Si. Don't worry. Let's quickly, Steve, any transfer updates? Mydrick, anything on Danilo? I know that one's gone quiet and he's not a priority at the moment. Obviously, we've spoken about contracts and one that keeps on popping up recently, which I don't even know why, is Vlahovic.
No, Vlahovic is not happening. I mean,
why has that one come up though?
Because we was linked with him before, and we
it's like a year later, and he's actually. I know he didn't have the best starts, but he's got a decent record this season.
Yeah, he's Arsenal are not going to go back in for Vlahovic. He literally said, "I'm not." They didn't even answer the phone calls. They never even spoke to the club. He literally said, "We don't want to talk." The agent said, "I don't want to talk to you because of the fact that we're going to Juventus." So Arsenal ain't going to say. Vlahovic says the agent's going to go phone at Arteta. I'm going to go. Yeah, well, hold on a minute. Remember last year? He's going to go. No, on your bike, mate.
Yeah.
That's not happening, mate. That's just one that people are putting two and two together from last year and coming up with 6.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing there. On the other ones you mentioned, obviously Mudryk, we know that's Arsenal's priority for January. If there's ever a signing that we want to be going in the right direction at this moment in time, it's that one. At this moment, I see no worries or no problems at all that we won't be coming in January. People I've spoke to, people who are right there, at the sharp end on this, are telling me that Shakhtar, are more than willing to come to an agreement with Arsenal for a fee of around 60 million. If Arsenal started winning titles, there could be another 15 million add-ons onto that at the end of the season. Magic wants to come. Shakhtar have to sell. And obviously all the right noises are coming out of the Mudryk camp from the agent, from Mudryk himself, saying, literally, let's get this done. So we're in a great situation with that. And he'd be a great signing because he's a player who can play on the left, he can play on the right. So, someone who can give Martinelli a rest or someone can give Saka a rest if he ever needs one. But, And with the Danilo one, it's gone quiet. Everything's fine. Look, they've spoken to the player. It's great. And in the summer, they had two bids turned down by Palmeiras. Arsenal haven't gone in with another bid up to yet. But we're just not getting nothing from the Palmeiras side. They seem to be sticking to this price, and Arsenal are quite happy to strengthen the squad by bringing in someone like Danilo. But Arsenal are only prepared to pay a certain amount of money. Very similar to the Douglas Luiz situation in the summer. They never accepted those two prices. Same with Danilo, same with Luiz. They're willing to pay around the same price, but they would never push it. And hence why the Yuri Tilliams thing has never gone away. And I'll be told that's why they've not really pushed it, because Yuri Tilliams is still a very big possibility that this could happen either in January, which would be ideal, or we'll be getting him in the free on summer. So that's not finished yet. That's still a possibility that could happen. And I think that's why that's still there. People are not shutting it out because the Danilo one and the Luiz ones, Arsenal ain't pushing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for that update, Steve. So Arsenal have got West Ham in how many days' time? How many days' time is it? 6 days' time? Yes. 6 days' time. Big game. First game back, and then they've got Brentford. This is what I'm looking at. West Ham's. Bloody hell. We've got West Ham on the Monday, followed by Brighton then Newcastle, and then Tottenham. Tottenham, Brighton, Newcastle, Oxford in the cup, and then Tottenham, and then Man United. So it's going to be a tough run. It's a tough run coming back from the break. Wincing as I say it. Jerome, West Ham potentially. The break came at a good time for them after losing 4 out of their 5 games, dropping points to they dropped points to United, they dropped points to Leicester 2-0 just before the World Cup finished. They also got knocked out of the cup by Blackburn and lost to Crystal Palace at home. Arsenal, good opportunity to get something out of this. Because West Ham haven't been in the best form full stop this season.
Yeah.
It's 16th in the league.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for West Ham because the last few seasons they've done particularly well.
Yeah.
It's just this is the perfect situation or the exact scenario where you just do not know what is going to happen because it's like the first game of the season. Mm-hmm. And anything could happen. You don't know. We think we know what team we're probably going to start with. There might be 1 or 2, perhaps, that would be surprising. I don't know if Saliba will come straight back in. That's the sort of main one that I'm sort of questioning. I think Saka and Martinelli will both play. I'll be surprised if they don't.
Yeah.
I
think
it's going to go.
Saka and Martinelli are already back in training. Should be.
Yeah, I think they're. Yeah. Well, I know that Arteta said that he saw Gab Martinelli, didn't he, at the ground the other day on Saturday. So yeah, hopefully, I don't think we're in a position to sort of not play them if they're available. Like, because of how good Man City are, every point, every game is like valuable. You've got to try and make the most out of every game now from now to the end of the season. And it's just weird. So I don't know how the teams are going to come back.
Yeah.
From this break.
It's hard to gauge, isn't it? Very hard.
Very hard. It's harder to predict than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Steve, West Ham, good time to play them. Doesn't matter. We don't know how Arsenal go. West Ham is. What's your thoughts on this game coming up on Monday?
I think we're going to come back and we're going to be up for it. I really do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm confident about the game. I think West Ham, have you already said they've not had a great season.
Yeah.
I haven't been impressed with them like other seasons. So for me, it's a good game. It's a good game to come back to. We've seen our players in the friendlies. They look up for it. They look sharp.
Didn't they?
Yeah. They look ready to go.
Yeah.
That's what makes me. They look ready. They look ready to go. And our players that are coming back from the World Cup, who were there in the later stages, for instance, or played a big part in the World Cup itself. People like we have Ben White. He came back early. Saliba, he never got a kick while he was out there. Okay, Saka's come back. He had a great World Cup. Martinelli, they all look good when they was out there. They're just going to come back. All they've been doing is just doing what they would normally do if there wasn't a World Cup. They've just been playing games and training. So, imagine them with their red shirts on and they're looking good and they're looking sharp and they don't look like to me they've dropped their levels. And I think we're going to go to West Ham and I think we're going to do well. It's going to be interesting to see who plays left back again. It's like the big question, isn't it? Every sort of every game, who's going to start a left back for Arsenal? Whether it's going to be Tomiyasu, whether it's going to be Tierney, whether it's going to be Zinchenko. Yeah. It's good. That's another question.
It is. I think Zinchenko's still just coming back from another little niggling injury, not a big one, but just off the back of having the other one.
Yeah. I'd like to see Tierney in there. I would. Must be honest with you. Yeah, I would. I'd like to see Kieran Tierney now. I've been really impressed with him. Even just coming off the bench. I haven't seen much of him personally during the pre-season one. The games that we just played. While the World Cup's been on.
Yeah.
But he never normally drops his levels. So I think West Ham would be a good game for him as well.
Yeah.
You know, a London derby. You know,
Proper
he loved
athletic kind of game as well. He can get up and down
Yeah,
the field.
yeah, definitely. He loves it to be an atmosphere, be at the Emirates. So I'd like to see him start. I'd love to see Emil Smith-Rowe on the bench. You know, that would be great. And yeah, and then Martinelli, Saka up front with you know, Eddie down the middle and Partey and Xhaka with Odegaard. I mean, yeah, I mean, what a difference between last January, what you was going to last January. We was worried.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to kick on, mate. I think we'll kick on. Yeah, really excited. Can't wait, mate. Boxing Day, bring it on.
Yeah, confident in Arsenal kicking on, as Steve's saying, Jerome.
Yeah, hopefully a quick start. Yeah, can't wait for it. Really, yeah. I think he'll have him proper fired up, Arteta, for this one.
Yeah, and I think that's. I think you said it there. It's Arteta. As soon as I saw the sharpness in the team against Lyon, I was like, Mikel Arteta, you're a savage, mate. He's not letting off. He's not letting off. He's making sure you're keeping your professionalism. After the Juventus game, he was talking about the game doesn't the game wasn't fit. The score wasn't fit enough how the game actually turned out. But he did mention that Juventus had 2 shots on target, two shots, scored 2 goals. It was 2 own goals in the end, Holding and Xhaka. And then
It's funny.
And then said that us having 19 shots on target, 19 shots on goal, and 2 on target is not good enough because the games are decided in the boxes, and we need to be better. So he's keeping standards, making sure that yes, the players know that he liked the way we were playing, he liked the energy, he liked the fact that we were getting opportunities, but it's not good enough. We need to be better, and he's keeping those high standards, which is very, very important, which is why we are where we are now. Do you think it start with Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, or Kieran Tierney at left back, Jerome?
Just based off of what we've seen, based off what we've seen in this break, I think Tierney, because he's probably the sharpest, most match fit. But we do know that if Zinchenko is available, he's his preferred choice. It all depends, I think, on Zinchenko's fitness. But if you ask me now, I'd say I think Tierney will start.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think Tierney should start as well. Let's quickly go to a couple of the questions. We'll go to Steve on this one, we'll go to Jerome on this one and Steve on the next one because Steve was on the pod with Aaron Barton. What's your feelings on Pep Guardiola already complaining that he doesn't have the players ready for Liverpool? Would you say he's nervous of Arsenal? Well, he hasn't got Julian Alvarez. And that's about it, isn't it? So he's still got Haaland. He's still got an absolutely savage team. Would have Rodri back because Spain knocked out quite early. So, yeah. But what's your thoughts on Pep Guardiola already complaining about the fact that he won't have the players ready for the game because they're playing on Thursday?
Is that a cup? That's a cup game, I take it.
It's a cup game. Yes, cup game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what that is. Mind games.
Mind games. 100% is mind games.
It's king of the mind games,
he's
isn't he?
He's not going to have the team ready for exactly. He's not going to have the team ready for the game against Liverpool. Yet he's going to pull out Haaland, Mahrez, Diaz, like a ridiculous team. A ridiculous team. Yeah, it's mind games. It's so that you say this team ain't ready. You look at them, and it's the Galacticos next to you. You're like, God, what's the point? And Steve, can you tell Arsenal fans to stop saying Fabio Vieira needs to go Cup? Does Bernardo Silva struggle in the Premier League with physicality? No. Steve, you was on the pod with Aaron Aaron Barton, and the question was asked to him. I think you asked a question about does he need to bulk up. What was Aaron's response?
He said he literally said that. Well, he said this guy is one of the toughest little so and so's that you're seeing, that comes into the Premier League. He said he's Premiership ready. He's tough. He plays with an angriness about him. He's only slight, but he's a lot stronger than what people looks like. So, yeah, I mean, he literally called him he's one of his most favourite players in Portuguese football at the time.
But he actually said across all football.
Across all football. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did. He said across all football. And when he came to the club, I remember, I think it was you, Kieran, who told me he had signed, and I know because I could hear the excitement in your voice when you told me. And yeah, I mean, he was something incredible in Portugal. And when Mikel Arteta said on many occasions, this guy is special. He is a very, very, very special footballer. Mm-hmm. He's only just come into the Premier League. He's come into a squad. We're building a squad that's hopefully going to be on par with Man City in the next couple of years, and Fabio Vieira just fits into that Bernardo Silva Gundogan role where sometimes he'll play and sometimes he won't, but when he does play he'll be just as good as, I think, maybe even if he could be close to Martin Odegaard, it will be unbelievable. But no, we've got no worries about. He's getting better and better, and he's getting stronger. And he pushes people off the ball. And I had this thing about a couple of times people say like the opposite, where they say he gets pushed too easily off the ball.
Yeah. I don't understand that. I'm not. I don't know what games he's watching.
Yeah, but if you that type of player, if you watch Bernardo Silva, if you watch Jack Grealish, if you watch João Felix week in week, all these players, you watch Bukayo Saka, you would say they're weak. They're not. They're clever. They win free kicks.
Yeah,
they bring their body in. They move over. They get a free kick. Odegaard does it. This is what he's clever. He is clever. He's got the lot. Premiership ready, top class, stronger than he looks. Arteta has told you that this guy will be very, very special. And he will, and he's going to be a very big part. If Arsenal go on to win the title, I'm telling you, top player.
Yeah, you said it there. He's smart with it. He doesn't need to be getting involved in big burly battles against 6'5" centre backs. He'll ride a challenge and go to ground. That's smart. I think I heard it on the radio after Saka got injured, and they said. He does need to be smarter with his play with regards to there's certain tackles he doesn't need to get involved with. And at the time I was like, no, look, he needs to be protected. But I get it. I do get it what they're saying. He does need to. You pick your battles, and you don't need to be picking a battle against a headless chicken centre back who's looking for 2 foot challenger because your career's not going to last too long. Bernardo Silva don't. And you won't see Saka and Fabio Vieira get involved in that as well. All right, that is all we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, Jerome.
Cool, pleasure. Cheers.
And thank you very much for joining us, Steve.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Pleasure. And Merry Christmas, everybody out there.
Yes,
good one.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. However you want to say it. Get stuff yourself. Hope you get plenty of gifts. Enjoy that Christmas TV. Tipples, whatever floats your boat. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us in the comment section. Simon and Melvin. Sorry, I think I saw you in there. Yes, I did see Melvin. Very much for joining us tonight, Melvin. And thank you very much for joining us, Simon. If you are new to the show, press that like and subscribe. If you are a regular, press that like, press that copy button. Just press the copy button because that's just as good. All right. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.